Good afternoon. I'm Christina Rice, Senior Librarian of the Los Angeles Public Library Photo Collection, and thank you for joining us for our discussion, More Than an Architectural Icon, the Collections of Central Library. As many of you know, Central Library, located in downtown Los Angeles, is part of the Los Angeles Public Library System and one of 73 locations throughout the city of Los Angeles, offering circulating collections and a large variety of programming and resources for the general public. Currently, all of our locations are closed before anybody asks because of the health crisis. And no, unfortunately, right now, we do not have a projected opening date. But you can go to our website, lapl.org, click on Library to Go, and get information about our curbside pickup service. Additionally, all residents of Los Angeles County can sign up for an e-card and have instant access to a variety of electronic resources, including ebooks, audiobooks, movies, music, and my favorite, research databases. So Central Library has a well-deserved reputation for being one of the architectural gems of the city of Los Angeles, which it absolutely is. And it's also one with a very complex history. There's so much interest in it that over the last 5 years, there's been 4 books about Central Library. But at its core are the research collections and the staff who have cared for and grown these collections for almost 150 years. And even if you've used Central Library, even if you're a regular user of Central Library, you may not be aware that there are 7 floors of public space. There are 9 subject departments available for walk-in research when we're open to the public. And there's 2 archival departments, the photo collections, which I oversee, and our special collections. So the Los Angeles Public Library has participated in all but one of the archives bazaars, but usually we're only able to have 1 or 2 departments at the table. So with this year being virtual, we thought, let's just go all out, and we're going to have every subject department represented this year. So I am pleased to welcome 10 of my amazing colleagues, and we'll see how this goes, and hopefully technology is on our side. And if you have questions along the way, please feel free to submit them. And before we get started with our discussion, I did want to point out to everyone that leading up to the Archives Bazaar this year, we've been dropping daily videos about each of the departments featuring these librarians on the, the library's main social media accounts. And there's a playlist on our YouTube account, so we encourage you to check these out. And I did want to give special thanks to Monica Valencia in our PR department who assisted with the filming, and a super huge thanks to Keith Kessler, our social media librarian in PR, who when we approached him, I think a month and a half ago about making 11 videos, he said, sure, no problem. He filmed and edited and posted them in record-breaking time. So thank you, Keith. You are amazing. And now I would like to invite my fellow Central Librarians, and I would like each of them to introduce themselves with their name, give us a brief overview of your department, and then also share an aspect of your department's collections that you think people should really know about, and maybe they don't always. So Mara, let's go ahead and start with you.
Hi, I'm Mara Alpert, and I am in the Children's Literature Department at Central Library. The department has about 230,000 items in it, which, to put into context, a branch library might have 90,000, 80,000. So those are all items for children. We are also a regular children's department, so we do things like story times and all that as well. We have a number of reference collections, some of which are definitely works in progress. The Toy Moveable Collection's probably the one that is the best known. And it started because about 20 years ago, we discovered all of these Toy Moveable books that hadn't been actually cataloged or organized in any fashion, so we couldn't do anything with them. So that is definitely a collection worth knowing about. We also collect in a variety of subjects. So fairy tales and folklore, we have a pretty enormous collection of both circulating and reference items. We also have a large collection of unorganized golden picture books, the little golden books, which is definitely on our list of things to get to. And I guess that's it for now.
Hello, I'm Robert Anderson. I'm the subject specialist in the literature and fiction department. As the name implies, we focus on things like fiction, poetry, and plays, and we also have related subjects such as humor, essays. We have journalism in our department. We have books about the English language and also general linguistics, books written in English. And we have as well the department's collection of library science books and books about library history. One aspect of our collection that I think people really would appreciate if they knew more about it is our collection of local theater memorabilia. And really the beginning of this collection was what we call the Dobbinson Collection, most of which is in the library's rare books section. George Dobbinson was he came over from England and settled in Los Angeles in 1875 when he was a young man. And by 1890, he became, among other things, the first president of the LA Public Library's Board of Directors. He also was the first theater critic of the Los Angeles Times. And he was, even though his occupation was real estate, he spent a lot of time in the world of theater. And he eventually opened an acting school in downtown Los Angeles. I'm sure the British accent probably helped him there. But anyway, he over the years that he was involved with local theater, he amassed quite a large collection, and his wife, who was also involved in local theater activities, eventually donated 2,000 items from their collection to the Los Angeles Public Library. These go up to about 1910 and cover things like photos and playbills and books relating to, particularly to local theater. So from that beginning, the department staff has continued to collect in the area of local theater. We have a series of 75 scrapbooks covering 75 years of theater reviews. The scrapbooks are called Drama in Los Angeles, so they're clippings from various periodicals over the years about covering local theater productions. We also have a large collection, 1,000 theater programs that have all been collected through donations, and we add to that continually. We keep getting messages from people who have more programs to donate, so we're always adding more and more local theater programs. And we also have another set of scrapbooks that a library patron named Robert Richardson compiled in the later part of the 20th century. He was trying to write a history of local theater, but he never quite got around to writing it. But he had an amazing set of scrapbooks about particular theaters and so forth. So his family eventually donated those. So with all that, we really have a pretty remarkable collection of pretty much anything you'd want to know about local theater in the Los Angeles area.
Hi, my name is Amanda Charles. I'm the specialist in Teenscape, which is the library within Central Library for young people ages 12 to 19. Our collection is a little bit different than the other subject departments in Central in that we are a purely circulating collection. We exist to serve teens. All of our books are written at a middle school and high school reading level. So we don't have a whole lot of rare stuff. We don't have unusual or old stuff. The truth is a lot of our most popular books don't last very long. We have to reorder them because our patron base is younger. We were the first dedicated space for teens at a public library in the country. And we remain a dedicated space for teens. We have a no unaccompanied adult policy. We generally ask adults who are not with a teen to leave the department because we want to have a free space for teens. When we're open to the public, we're generally a little less quiet than the rest of the library. teens can sit together, they can work together, they can discuss, they can watch TV, they can play video games. We have about 30,000 items, which you'll notice is a lot smaller than the rest of the departments you'll be hearing from today. But the thing that I'm very proud of is that all of those items are dedicated to teens. Our nonfiction collection is great. Our fiction collection is awesome. One of the collections you might not expect us to have is we have a manga collection, Japanese comic books of about 5,000 volumes, several hundred series represented. So if you know anybody who's a fan, you can let them know about it.
Hi, my name is Suzanne M. I'm the acting senior librarian of digitization and special collections. We preserve Los Angeles Public Library's unique and rare materials for posterity and make them more widely accessible by digitizing items for online or electronic access. Our rare books room has over 22,000 volumes, predominantly in English and Spanish, dating from the 11th century on. And over the course of its almost 150-year collecting history, LAPL librarians have transferred items from other subject departments that have become rare to the rare books room. The rare books room is also home to the LA Public Library's institutional archives, non-photo archives, which includes architectural drawings of the LA Central Library. We also collect generally in LA history, the history of California, the history of Mexico, the art and history of the book, natural history, including ornithology, costume and dress, voyages and travels. And we actually have a collection of cookbooks and ephemera, which is believed to be one of the largest in the country. Another collection that not many people know about that we have is the Bullfight Collection, which was donated by George B. Smith. It has over 1,700 books, and it's the second largest bullfight collection in the country. And one aspect that of our department's collections that I'd like people to know about is that during normal times, our materials can actually be viewed by the public on appointment basis. And you just have to have a specific research purpose. Like there's an item in our department that you've identified that you want to look at for your research or a certain subject area. And you just need to show your government issued photo ID and complete a reader registration form and camera use policy.
Hi, I'm Eileen King, and I'm the subject specialist in the Art, Music, and Recreation Department here at Central. And we cover graphic arts, performing arts, and recreation. We have a collection of about 300,000 items. I wanted to highlight a couple of things in the collection that you might be interested in. We have over 77,000 music scores. And we have a specialized service in orchestration scores. Our first orchestration scores came to us from the LA Phil, and we have now about 2,000 scores that we lend to 200 local music organizations. They can join up for this service and have a full orchestration score available to them for 3 months in time to prepare for a musical performance. In addition to that, sheet music that you may not find in our catalog, but you're always welcome to call us in the art department, from the early 1900s, even back into the 1800s. It was the kind of sheet music with a beautiful cover, a single title, popular music, primarily, some in Spanish, but most in English, popular music in the early 1900s, and with very, very colorful covers. We continue to add to that collection regularly because when people clean out their piano benches, we get their musical scores. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Krauss. I hope my internet connection is stable enough to come through on this. I represent the Business and Economic Department, And in the library, the business and economics department, the main focus of it is jobs, money, and small business. However, I think we also cover a lot of other things, including economics. We cover marketing. We cover things like the advertising, transportation. We cover the history of railroads and freeways. So we cover a wide range of different topics. One thing I like to think of as an extra focus of the business department, people don't always realize, I like to think of it as the past, present, and future department. Because when you think of the future, you're thinking of getting your next job or improving your finances or in getting that business off the ground. But when you have the past, present, and future, you're also looking at company histories. We have a lot of books that cover histories of companies. We have directories going way back for the history of companies in Los Angeles. We have a file cabinet full of old annual reports from companies, and we also have microfiche records that cover many of the company records that way. Another area of interest had been our history of transportation. We have a whole bunch of people who are fascinated by the history of the streetcars, like the old red cars in Los Angeles. And so we have that information as well. We have a lot of books that show photographs and schedules and things of that nature. So I think that about covered what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stella Middelbach. I'm the acting senior in the Science, Technology, and Patents Department. So we've got, of course, the hard sciences in our department, as well as things like do-it-yourself manuals for, upholstery, soap making, construction, auto repair, etc. As a lot of people know, we have a huge cookbook collection, like 45,000 titles or so on food and drink. And it goes very deep. You can get anything from Australian Aboriginal cooking, to local LA charity cookbooks, and from, molecular gastronomy to high yield quantity cooking. And we're also a patent and trademark resource center. We are one of the first, we were among the first 14 patent and trademark resource centers from the late 1870s till today. So that's all for me. Greg?
Sorry about that, getting used to it. Yeah, I'm Greg Reynolds in the Social Science, Philosophy, and Religion Department, subject specialist of that department. We have a huge collection of books in that area covering everything. This other library I worked at, if they didn't know where to send a question, they sent it to the Social Science Department. So philosophy, we have everything from, besides the major philosophers and philosophies, there's books on New Age, on astrology, dream interpretation, general psychology, a lot of self-help books, on just general self-help, on improving your outlook, achieving success. So, something kind of popular type reading. And then in religion, we have books on just all the, sacred texts, major religions, sort of spiritual and religious literature. And in the social science area, that's a huge area in itself. There's sociology, books on immigration, crime and punishment. There's foreign policy, true crime, education, and just interpersonal relations. A lot of material in there. And one thing that's I'd like to point out, I think, well, I mentioned in the video that I recorded, but we're a government depository of federal and state publications. So we have quite a huge collection of those titles. And not all of them, they may not be available in the catalog. So if someone's searching our catalog and can't find it, please contact our department, because it could be on microform and it could be under like a sort of a generic umbrella title. Like it could be a report that was included under a title like bulletin or proceedings or hearings or something like that. So if you don't see anything, if your search doesn't come up, then please contact us. We can double check and make sure it's not mentioned in a print index, or that we can find it some other way, or maybe online, that we can just email the information to the person. So yeah, that's about it for me. So David.
Correct. Hi, I'm David Torshan. I'm acting senior librarian of the International Languages Department. And our collection is comprised of resources in all subject areas in 30 different languages, as well as language learning resources such as phrase books and dictionaries in more than 500 languages and dialects from around the world. And one aspect of our department's collection that I would like to highlight are the bilingual books, sometimes they are called side-by-side books, and they can be very helpful for learning or improving language skills. Kelly, back to you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Wallace. I'm the California History Subject Specialist in the History and Genealogy Department. The History and Genealogy Department has 3 specialized subject sections: maps, genealogy, and California history. The map section is one of the largest public library collections in the country, has over 200,000 maps, including topographical maps, nautical charts, and as far as Los Angeles goes, we have street maps of Los Angeles dating back to 1849 and street guides dating back to 1925. And of course, the Sanborn Fire Insurance Atlases, which are very popular. The genealogy collection, real brief overview, has over 10,000 family histories. And most of these family histories are not copyright, are largely copyright protected and therefore not digitized online. And in addition, 20% of them are not in the Library of Congress even. They're unique to our library and a very few other libraries. It's a real great resource for family histories. The Genealogy Department also has the Genealogy and Local History Index, which is online, and also we're working to get it all online, but we also have card catalog, and that will point patrons to information in books, journals, magazines, and in the another special resource of the Genealogy Department is the pamphlet and manuscript file, and it's like vertical files of really unique materials, letters, photos, unusual family trees, etc. But today I want to focus on our resources for Los Angeles history. There's no better place to get started on LA history than in the History and Genealogy Department at Central Library. And we have many unique resources. First, I want to highlight the California Index. Now, the California Index is unique to LAPL. LAPL librarians have been creating it for decades. It will point you to resources in books, newspapers, journals, photos, and vertical files. And it will lead you to subjects important to the history of California with an emphasis on Southern California, and notable events, people, transportation, architecture, neighborhood histories, all kinds of great information. The California Index can actually save you really hours of research. I call it your go-to resource for LA history. Besides the California Index, we also have a lot of other great resources. City directories, Los Angeles city directories dating back to the 1870s. And city directories are fantastic because besides what you think you're going to find in a phone book of name, address, telephone number, you'll find the occupation of the person, you'll find where their work address is. And in the front of city directories, there's all kinds of information about the city, how many paved roads there were, how many churches there were, how many schools and teachers there were, the budget for the school district, how many books the library checked out that year. So it's really a treasure trove of information. We also have historical Los Angeles newspapers on microfilm dating back to the 1850s. Papers like the Los Angeles Star, the Semi-Weekly News, where you can find contemporary accounts of some of the major historical events in Los Angeles. And I also want to highlight a unique, one of our most popular resources, which is the Streets of Los Angeles. And this was put together by Bernice Kimball, who was one of the first female engineers at the City Department of Engineering. She was a cartographer and got very interested in maps, and therefore very interested in the history of street names. And she was a member of Mensa and an active member of the Los Angeles City Historical Society. And the entries in this book are so valuable because you'll find out the year the street was named, the origin of the street name, the track name, and any previous names that the street had. And this is another resource that is unique to Los Angeles Public Library. As I understand it, a librarian went over to the Department of Engineering and actually put these cards for each street together and duplicated them. And so we have this terrific resource. It's one of the most popular ones we have. So as I like to say, if you want to know about LA history, come to the history department down on the 4th floor, lower level 4.
Thank you, Kelly. And so I guess I should talk about the photo collection. So our historic photo collection, we started collecting photos in the 1940s. Now it numbers somewhere between 3 and 4 million. I don't know that we'll ever actually count them, but the focus of the photo collection is Los Angeles. So we do have materials going back to the 1850s. So if you saw the video that I did for the Archives Bazaar, it shows one of our tin types. So we do have all kinds of formats. And like I said, our focus, is Los Angeles. We're not particular. It doesn't have to be a beautifully framed photo. If it's, I would rather have a really lousy snapshot of Monkey Island than yet another photo of City Hall, because we have so much. Although I do love photos of City Hall. So we digitize the photos as quickly as we possibly can. So to date, we have, I think, about 133,000 photos online that you can access through our digital portal, which is tessa.lapl.org. People looking for photos that are not represented in our online collection that are truly Los Angeles are always welcome to reach out to us, and we will search our offline collection, although that is very limited right now because most of the photo staff is working from home. I like to think we have, we cover most of Los Angeles history. There are certainly gaps, and so we're always, adding to the collection. We don't purchase photos, so all of these 3 million plus photos have been donated over the years, and I think people are familiar with some of our bigger collections like Security Pacific National Bank and our 2 newspaper collections, the Herald Examiner and the Valley Times. But I do encourage people, when you go into Tessa and click on the photo collection, one of the sub collections is called the Los Angeles Photographers. And that's what I would like people to get to know, are our various photographers. So, we have Ansel Adams photos in our collection and William Ray, who was a very notable local photographer. But we also have Mildred Harris, who was an armchair historian who tracked development throughout Los Angeles in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and took Kodachrome slides. And we have Annie Lasky and her mom, Marlene, who in 1978 and 79 photographed all of Wilshire Boulevard. So I would love people to get to know our photographers a little bit more, because I think it helps you not only understand why we have particular photos in our collection, but I think it'll give you a different perspective on the city. So that is a little bit about all of our departments. Lisa, at this point, do we have any questions that have come through?
Yes, one question that I'm curious about too, as well. Is there a spot in the Central Library that's a favorite spot of yours, whether it be, and I'm thinking of physical space, whether it be open to the public or not?
I think God, that's really hard. I'm gonna build off of something I saw Eileen say in a presentation for the Santa Monica Public Library. And I'm going to go with the Flower Street entrance. It is, it's how I enter the building every morning. And I've been working at Central Library for over 14 years. And every time I walk up those stairs and look up and see that building I'm about to enter, that is my home away from home, it absolutely takes my breath away. So I don't know, I love every part of that building, but man, like, the Flower Street entrance just gets me every time. Go ahead, Amanda.
I want to put in a plug for the Rare Books Room. So the Flower Street entrance is great. Right above the Flower Street entrance is the Rare Books Room, which is gorgeous wood shelves, beautiful lighting, amazing collections that special collections can bring out. But the thing that is incredibly charming about the Rare Books Room is if you are there in the morning doing your research, it overlooks the children's department. And so you will hear the children's department, children visitors singing during story time. And that's just a charming thing that a lot of people don't get to experience. So I want to put in a plug for that.
Mara.
And I'm going to put a plug in for the view from the reference desk in the children's department, which looks out into the rotunda, which I'm absolutely convinced is one of the most beautiful spaces in the city of Los Angeles, especially at the holidays. We always get the best view of the Christmas tree. And it's a pleasure and an honor to get to sit there.
And I am, yeah, the photo collection is on lower level 4 with the history department. So I'm as far away from the rotunda as you can get. So yeah, especially at Christmas time, I will just go up there for no other reason than to take a look at the Christmas tree, which Viha, who runs our Octavia lab, decorates every year. And yeah, I'm gonna miss that this year.
I feel there's a postcard series to be happening, like views from outside the LAPL building windows, because all of these sound amazing. Another question we had is, wondering what the library is doing to preserve records for future generations that are now available only in digital form. Aha, so she's getting at our lovely phrase, technological obsolescence. So yeah, what are some of the things that you're doing with the digital collections that are readable today to make sure they're readable in the future?
Suzanne, do you wanna take this?
Sure. I mean, we're Born Digital Materials is something that we're just starting to get into more. We have actually we're working on a digital preservation policy right now for our department, and I mean, but in the meantime, we back everything up in multiple locations, all of our digital assets, and we do fixity checks to make sure that the integrity of the file is in place, and we're also offering public programs related to digital preservation. We've offered one specifically targeted at digital photos, actually several times within the past couple of years to get the public thinking about caring for their digital photos so that eventually archives, you know, whether it's us or at another institution, can intake them with the proper metadata, and that you're following file naming conventions that would allow us to handle those files much better.
And Suzanne and Kelly, do both of you briefly want to talk about the Safer at Home archive, since that's largely a Born Digital archive?
Yes, so that was, oh, Kelly, you can talk about it because you were the brainchild of this project.
But that's it. You do all the hard work. She's much more knowledgeable of what we've actually gotten. But yes, we created the Safer at Home archive to capture what Angelenos were going through during this pandemic. And majority of submissions, you can jump in anytime, Suzanne, are online, are digital submissions. But we do have some physical submissions, mainly through, I think, a postcard type of prompt that some of our branches have participated in. I'm trying to work on getting some ephemera material to include in the archive and in the vertical files, but speak all kinds of entries, photos, drawings, poems,
Diary
journals.
entries,
Yeah, exactly.
correspondence.
I mean, I think it's been really terrific seeing what has come in, and Suzanne can talk about this. It should be available online pretty soon.
Yeah, some of the first batches of photos will be up this fall.
And we're taking submissions through the end of the year. Is that the
Yes,
target right now? So I think, in the beginning, it was one thing, how we thought of it. And now, so as it goes on, it's sort of, sort of a whole different sort of experience. So I hope people are still contributing, because it's kind of a different kind of reaction or life that we're going through now. So hopefully people will still continue to contribute, so we can capture this part of the pandemic also. But it's been exciting, it's been thrilling, and Suzanne can talk. She and her department do all the heavy lifting as far as this project.
Yeah, so yeah, we're intaking everything through an online form that's linked on the main lapl.org homepage. But if you want to access it, the URL is lapl.org/safer-home. And we're taking, mainly digital items through this form, and the public is invited to provide all the details about the photo or the letter or whatever it is they want to contribute through the form. And we're taking these items, we're putting them through quality control. Actually, librarians and other staff from the history department, the art department have helped us to do the quality control and kind of help curate which items do end up into the archive. And some of our librarians are in the middle of cataloging some of these items. And yeah, I think I really encourage those of you who are watching to contribute your experiences, because we want this resource to be a reflection of as diverse a swath of LA as possible.
Thank you. Any more questions, Lisa?
Yes. So one fan of the LAPL postcard idea, and the other one, this one starts with an apology if they missed it. But do you also have a collection of architectural blueprints or drawings?
Only for the LA Central Library.
Okay. I have a question. I have a couple questions actually. But one of the things that LA is Subject, how it started was to, see how they're going to describe the narratives of the different stories of LA. And in hearing about all these different special collections within Los Angeles, that's just not about Los Angeles, but maybe of interest to your patrons. Do you see that how each of your collections can be a fabric of the LA story, or elaborate on like why you might have Aboriginal cookbooks, or such an array of philosophical documents, or being the first to open up a library to youth? So I guess how your collections reflect the look of the city, or the character of the city or county, region.
Stella, do you want to go?
Yeah. So one thing I forgot to mention, my department has in the rare books department the menu collection, which is has a lot of Los Angeles menus that you can find online. You can find them in the TESA database, but there's also a legacy database of scanned menus that has a lot more which they need to be rescanned, but it's really great. And my department also has old environmental impact reports, if you're looking for something like that. And then often kind of city department reports for building and safety or whatever. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the collections we have are just because somebody out there in the city collected it and then gave it to us. So that's like maybe how that's how we end up with a huge bullfighting collection. I know one of the earliest collections that we got for the photo collection are our portraits, and that was a local historian named Luther Ingersoll who obsessively collected portraits of prominent Angelenos, which, you know, tended to be, you know, upper class white people like the realtors and the bankers. But, you know, we have this huge collection of portraits, and that's because somebody, you know, chose to do it, which I'm sure will be reflected, you know, throughout the other collections. As you know, like Eileen mentioned, like the orchestrations, it all kind of started with people, you know, collecting and donating or on the board, or even, you know, librarians. One of our most prominent collections is our Shades of LA. And that was my predecessor, Carolyn Cole, who identified that maybe our photo collection wasn't really telling the story of Los Angeles. And so she took it upon herself to actually launch, you know, a program to collect those. So, you know, I think it's a combination of, you know, what's coming to us, and then if there are, you know, particular librarians that are a driving force behind collecting something. And Amanda.
So I think one of the great things about working at Teamscape, we're a full collection, fiction, nonfiction, but we also get to synthesize the collections all across Central Library for young people. So one of the best experiences I've had working with young people in our digital collections was actually showing teens. We had a program on a rainy Saturday, and 2 teens showed up. It was all about finding Black history resources at LAPL. And so we went on Tessa, the digital collection. With me and 2 teens were sitting on 3 computers in Teamscape, and I showed them how to look up pictures of Shades of LA. And one of the teens was Somali American, the other teen was Korean American, and they both immediately started looking up pictures of their communities in Los Angeles over time. And they were able to find that representation. Another time we had a homeschool group, and they wanted to do a walking tour of Los Angeles Green Book locations in downtown. And so they came to Teamscape to introduce them to how to search digitally. We said we could show them the digital collections of the Green Book at New York Public Library online, but wouldn't they rather make an appointment with Special Collections and see Green Books in person? And so we were able to do a hybrid appointment where those teens not only got to visit locations in downtown LA, that was their original goal, but to actually see the Green Book in Special Collections, have it introduced to them by Suzanne, and get a real idea of what it would be like to carry that book around, to see the size of it and see how it was made. So those are the sorts of things that we get to do. And I think that there are just amazing collections, and I have a great time introducing teams to them.
Thanks, Amanda. Lisa, some more questions came through?
Yeah. And this one's a great question to ask to this group, as well as to the audience that may be looking, that you've all done a great job in documenting LAPL's history. But what are some questions you may have about the library's history or your department histories that have yet to be answered? Any mysteries?
Mara.
We have a bit of a mystery. So in our department, we have murals that were originally in the tunnel entrance on Hope Street. And we know that they were painted for the tunnel, and they were there for a few years, and then they got moved to the history department, which is where the children's department is now. It was originally the history department, which became known as the California History Room. But we don't know what year they got put there. You know, I usually hazard a guess it was sometime in the early 30s, but I don't have a specific year. So that's a mystery that I have meant to solve for many years.
For me, like having, you know, I didn't start at Central Library until after the renovation. So as many people know, we had there was a fire in 1986, and then there was a renovation and an expansion. And I can never quite wrap my head around where everything was, especially when you're on the 3rd floor going to the rare books room and where the literature department's staff room is. It is windy and low ceilings, and just wrapping my head around what Central Library looked like before the fire is it's often just like a mystery for me. So one day I'm going to walk around like with the floor plans and figure out and just really immerse myself in Central as it was. Anybody else?
Well, as the representative of the department that has library history in it, we tend to get most of the questions that have been inspired recently by Susan Orlean's book, the library book. And we did up to the pandemic have definitely a larger number of library book related tourists. And we also had a lot more, and still have a lot more email questions about library history. So, and I was there at the time of the fire. So a lot of times the ones about the fire get referred to me. And those are some of the questions that I enjoy answering the most. People will come and say, so where exactly did the fire start? And I'll show them. Sometimes I even take them down to Teenscape and show them roughly where on them. And sometimes I just point it out on a map of the building that we have from pre-fire days. But we do get a lot of questions definitely about various library mysteries. I know that one that was resolved fairly recently was we have a library entrance. Well, there's an entrance to the library that's off of Hope Street. It's the lower entrance. It's where the murals that Mara mentioned originally were. It's like a tunnel entrance. I think it was inspired sort of by the Egyptian tomb theme that some of the library sort of represents. But there was a question for many years about when did that entrance not cease becoming a public entrance. For many years, it was the main entrance to the library was on Hope Street, but eventually they turned it around and made the main entrance on Fifth Street, on Fifth Street. So we eventually did find that it was closed off right after World War II, or during World War II, when there was a real shortage of staff, when all these library employees had gone off to do World War II related things, and they didn't have that many employees, and they had to close some of the entrances to the library. And that was when that tunnel entrance stopped being a public entrance to the building.
Thanks, Bob. So I think we are just about out of time. While we're closed, we actually launched a virtual tour of Central Library. So you can go to lapl.org. And I think if you go to locations and hours, there's the link for the virtual tour. So you can kind of take a look around the interior of Central Library until we're actually open to the public again. I just want to say thank you to all of my colleagues. It's so wonderful to see you all. I miss you all. I miss running into you. I miss bugging you for things, because I do. I've utilized all of these people for my personal research. They're all so knowledgeable and so incredible. And I really hope that John Szabo, our city librarian, lets us have like a giant dance party once the library can be open to full capacity, because I just want to dance around that building. But in the meantime, lapl.org, there are so many resources. We're all some of us are in the building, a lot of us are working from home. We all want to help you. We're all starved for great research questions. And just thank you so much. Thank you, LAS Subject, for letting us do this. And we hope to see you all soon.